Let's talk first inorganic versus organic. What
Okay.
does that mean?
Inorganic are chemicals that are either mostly synthesized. And what they do is they absorb the UVB and UVA. They're
That
very
that's
strong chemicals.
chemical. That's
Those are
organic.
the organic.
Yeah.
And the inorganic are the ones that are also chemicals, but they are made of different kinds of molecules that are usually larger and usually have colors. So people have been playing around with it and coming out with nanoparticles and all that.
We'll talk about that later.
There are two basic functions in the old way we think of sunscreens. So let me just advance this kind of thinking already from now on, from here. There's the one that is purely passive in the sense that the chemical, whether it is organic or inorganic, just sits in the skin to ward off UVB, UVA, and all of these. Then beyond that, we began to realize that sunscreens passively also protect against pollution because we are surrounded by pollution from the pollution in the air, from industry, from cars, from soot, from whatever. So again, that's still passive. The newer things that you don't realize that are present in sunscreens are the active ingredients. And those active ingredients include antioxidants. Those antioxidants are very active in capturing and smashing the effect on the molecules that are in our epidermis and dermis so that hopefully the wrinkling, the sebaceous effect on the sebaceous gland by these chemicals or by these things that get to us are quenched through reactive oxygen species that they make. So there are the passive action, which is basically what we always think of as sunscreen, but the active is really the presence also of antioxidants. And now there are hybrids. Again, you may not realize it, but a number of our sunscreens have, I call the hybrids in the sense that they contain not just antioxidants, but actually antioxidants that, in addition, have enzymes in them that help in correcting the effects inside the molecules that we have. If I may continue on the
I
effects.
need to back this up a little
Okay,
bit.
I think it's time for Laura to explain all that a little bit more safely.
No, just trying to get back. So the two main classifications of sunscreen ingredients, organic and inorganic. Organic in this sense does not mean organic, grown without fertilizer, natural, that's not what it means. So when people say I'm looking for an organic sunscreen, I'm not sure what they mean half the time, right? So organic strictly means these sunscreen active ingredients that tend to work by absorbing light, right? And they tend to be absorbed by the skin too.
Right.
Whereas inorganic sunscreens are really titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And they sit on top of the skin. And they're also, if you want to think of them as physical or mineral, that's the main difference, right? So when you think about chemical sunscreens, again, very clearly, we're not talking about natural/organic versus chemical. We're talking about a classification of sunscreen. Nowhere here are we talking about bad chemicals, harmful chemicals, toxic chemicals. So that's kind of the first thing I want to make sure is crystal clear with everybody,
May
right?
I add on to that? You use the word organic nowadays in two ways. Organic means molecules that made of carbons and all that, carbons and other things that are added to the carbon molecule in a chain that then make compounds. Those are organic. Inorganic usually is just one chemical: zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, iron oxide. So those are the inorganic, and they're usually larger chemicals. These are all chemicals. One organic
Everything in nature is
made of
chemical
compounds
anyway,
that
so.
are come out from different kind of carbon chains and all of that. And the other one is inorganic, simpler, usually just one ingredient in it. Then that's one way of looking at of using the word organic. There's the other one which applies to how they are planted. You know, to
But that's
food,
that's
to
not what we're talking
yeah,
about.
just to be
Okay.
sure that people, you see, people come and say, "I want an organic," thinking I want an organic, similar to the organic food I'm eating. Please, that's a different thing. The use of organic with food and agriculture, that's totally different. We're
Right.
talking about organic the way she
Right.
described it. Okay.
So the second big, I think, important thing to mention there is between organic and inorganic sunscreens, they both have pros and cons. But for visible light, she tends to really prefer inorganic sunscreens, right? Because they have a much longer, they protect against a much, much longer wavelength of light.